Cracks in the Gaza ceasefire this Tuesday night. Why Israel has cut the number of aid trucks. Plus, the U.S. president's warning to Hamas.
And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
And the emotional reunions decades in the making for some Palestinian prisoners. The Pentagon's ultimatum to journalists, the restrictive new rules, and why most news organizations are rejecting them. Canada's mission to repair its relationship with India, why many people in the Sikh community are worried. Plus, an alternate way to help Indigenous offenders.
The status quo is not working. The RCMP officers, they are also tired of bringing them to jail. And
inside a first-of-its-kind facility in BC.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The day after President Trump declared peace in the Middle East, the realities on the ground are painting a different picture. Israeli soldiers who still control 55% of Gaza shot and killed at least 6 Palestinians in Gaza today and have accused Hamas of violating the agreement to return the bodies of all of the remaining dead hostages. Truckloads of promised aid are not being allowed into Gaza, and scores are being settled in shootouts inside Gaza. There's even been a public execution of men accused of collaborating with Israel. Declaring peace is one thing, delivering it, as Redmond Shannon explains, is another.
Aid agencies say 600 trucks of food aid and supplies need to cross into Gaza every day for 6 weeks to alleviate the worst of the humanitarian crisis.
We need this scale up. We won't stop until we get it. But it's out of our hands when exactly it is going to happen.
Israel says it will only allow 300 trucks per day starting Wednesday and will keep the Rafah crossing closed because just 4 of the 28 dead hostages were returned by Hamas Monday.
Only to receive 4 of them was a huge disappointment. And since then we haven't heard how it's going to be, how it's going to be corrected.
4 more bodies were handed over Tuesday night, but recovering all of them will be a challenge.
There is clear indication that this might take much more time because of the difficulty to find the human remains in Gaza in particular.
The International Committee of the Red Cross says the level of destruction will also impact the recovery of Palestinian bodies from the rubble. It says all that must happen before an estimated 50 million tons of debris is removed from the Gaza Strip as part of the next phase of the peace plan. But already, even the ceasefire itself is under threat. Authorities in Gaza say Israeli troops killed at least 6 Palestinians in 2 incidents. The Israeli Defense Forces says it fired at people who approached the withdrawal line. And this video appears to show the public execution of men who Hamas says collaborated with Israeli forces. U.S. President Donald Trump had a warning for the group.
If they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you.
Trump says his deadline for Hamas is
pretty quickly, a reasonable period of time.
The bodies of 45 Palestinians held by Israel were returned to Gaza on Tuesday too. Identifying them could take some time given the damage to medical facilities in the Strip. Donna?
All right, Redmond Shannon in London, thank you. The war in Gaza has received most of the world's attention, but millions of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank also face an uncertain future. Israel's government has been gradually annexing more land there and approving more Israeli settlements on Palestinian land that would one day form the state of Palestine, should that ever happen. Israel's prime minister says it never will. Jeff Semple reports from the West Bank.
Monday saw hundreds of emotional homecomings, including 20 Israelis taken hostage by Hamas 2 years ago. But here in the West Bank, some Palestinian families were reunited for the first time, not in years, but decades. This is the moment Tarek Barghouti was reunited with his family. He was accused of belonging to a terrorist group and sentenced to life. never gave up hope that I would one day be free, he told us. Now, meeting his young nephews for the first time, he hopes their future will be brighter. I hope we can rebuild Gaza and a new generation of Palestinians can live in peace, he said. In exchange for the hostages, Israel agreed to release nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees, the vast majority of whom had been arrested and held without charge. But some of those Palestinians freed on Monday were then immediately deported. Sana Hattab learned on Friday her husband was to be freed after 13 years in prison. But instead, he was sent to Egypt. She says the Israelis won't let her leave the West Bank to see him. Thank God he's free, she says, but it's very difficult. I wish he could be here. The list of Palestinians released by Israel includes convicted murderers and rapists. But the Israeli government also refused to release prominent Palestinian political leaders, most notably Marwan Barghouti, the Fatah leader, widely considered to be a potential future Palestinian president.
Marwan will bring the Palestinian people united. Netanyahu have no interest to release Marwan because this strategic reason.
This former Palestinian government minister and friend of Marwan Barghouti's says the Israelis' refusal to release him sends a clear message.
They are speaking about peace. How it could be possible to achieve. It's a Palestinian state and ending the occupation.
The new Gaza peace deal says nothing about the 3.5 million Palestinians who live in the West Bank under Israeli occupation, and many here worry their lives will only get worse. Just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump declared a new era of peace in the Middle East, violence broke out here in the West Bank, with Israeli settlers attacking several villages overnight, killing at least one Palestinian. The mayor of this village says his friend who ran a business here was attacked and killed. Since October 7th, there's been a dramatic surge in Israeli settler attacks on Palestinian villages, and the Israeli government has been accused of turning a blind eye. We hope the new peace deal will bring peace to the West Bank, the mayor says, but we also know the Israeli government. Indeed, Israel's prime minister has recently passed laws and approved plans to expand the illegal settlements, while declaring unequivocally that there will never be a Palestinian state. Jeff Semple, Global News, the West Bank.
President Trump, who promised to end Russia's war on Ukraine within 24 hours of taking office, has since admitted delivering peace there is more difficult than he first thought. Trump has invited Ukraine's president for another visit to the Oval Office on Friday, hinting he may give Ukraine long-range missiles. As Jackson Prosco explains, Trump seems to be taking a harder line on Russia.
The latest Russian attack left 30,000 residents of Ukraine's second-largest city in the dark.
I'm very disappointed.
Fresh off his Gaza peace deal, the American president seems to have seen the light.
Because Vladimir and I had a very good relationship, probably still do. I don't know why he continues with this war.
Increasingly frustrated, Trump has indicated he may be ready to give Ukraine Tomahawk cruise missiles. That would allow Ukrainian forces to strike deep inside Russia, even Moscow, turning the tables on the war.
They'd like to have Tomahawks. That's a step up.
It's not just bluster. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will travel to Washington Friday to meet with Trump and critical defense suppliers.
The main topics are air defense and our possibilities with long range to pressure on Russia.
In fact, Trump is using Tomahawk missiles as an ultimatum to Vladimir Putin. Accept a ceasefire or face even more damaging strikes on Russian infrastructure.
Do they want to have Tomahawks going in their direction? I don't think so.
Putin has laughed off the threat, warning Tomahawks could only be launched with the help of the U.S. military. This would mark a new stage of escalation, he warned. NATO allies, fearing their own increased threats from Russia, aren't deterred.
If he is hitting Ukrainian civilian targets, we should help Ukraine hit back at his military targets.
Ukraine's strategy has been to signal to Trump that it's willing to find ways to end the war while highlighting that Putin is not. That message has direct appeal to a president who wants to be able to broker peace. Donna?
Jackson in Washington, thanks. Virtually all major news organizations in the U.S. are refusing to sign an extraordinary new policy from the U.S. Defense Department. It requires reporters not to publish or ask for information the Pentagon hasn't officially approved for release, even if it's not classified. Large parts of the Pentagon would be off limits to reporters, and journalists who report unapproved information would risk having their access completely revoked. 5 of the big U.S. broadcast networks, including Fox News, have said they will not sign. In a statement, they say the policy is without precedent and threatens core journalistic protections. We will continue to cover the U.S. military, as each of our organizations has done for many decades, upholding the principles of a free and independent press. The New York Times, the Associated Press, Reuters, NPR, the Washington Post, and Newsmax have also publicly said their journalists will not sign the Pentagon pledge. Only one outlet has confirmed it has signed. The Pentagon has given reporters until the end of the day to decide. The world's economic outlook is holding up better than expected, despite major shocks such as the U.S. president's tariffs. The International Monetary Fund said today the American economy will grow 2% in 2025. That's 0.1% more than what was forecast in July of this year. The global economy, it says, will expand by 3.2% this year, which is also more than the IMF's 3% estimate back in July. New U.S. tariffs kicked in today on some Canadian goods. Canadian softwood lumber now has an extra 10% duty, plus there's a 25% tariff on Canadian wood products such as kitchen cabinets and upholstered furniture. Canadian softwood lumber entering the U.S. will now face combined levies exceeding 45%. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister is in India for 3 days of talks aimed at boosting trade and strengthening ties, plus repairing diplomatic damage. Last year, India was Canada's 7th largest goods and services trading partner, with trade totaling almost $31 billion. Anita Anand met with India's Prime Minister. Gillian Piper explains the roadmap they agreed on.
Agents of the government of India.
2 years ago, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused agents of the Indian government of potential involvement in the killing of Canadian citizen Hardeep Singh Nijjar in BC.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Now, Canada is seeking to thaw the relationship, with Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand sitting down with India's External Affairs Minister and Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the first visit by a Canadian minister to India since the allegations became public.
We will see increased interaction between Canada and India in order to jointly achieve the objective of greater trade resilience.
The meeting, part of a bigger push by the Carney government to normalize relations with the 4th largest economy in the world.
There's a pretty strong, compelling commercial motivation for India and Canada to get things back on track.
But many in the Sikh community are worried economic interests are being prioritized over their security, as there have been several high-profile Sikh Canadians, including former NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, who have had credible threats to their lives from people with suspected ties to India.
If you don't have conditions and standards associated with this renewing of ties with India, it's basically appeasement.
Anand says she did bring up transnational repression during the visit.
I am reiterating the importance of the rule of law. I am reiterating the importance of the safety and security of the Canadian public.
Anand is also set to visit Singapore and China later this month, Donna, attempting to strengthen Canada's relationships in the Indo-Pacific to help reduce reliance on the United States.
All right, Gillian Piper, thank you. We are watching the results of the provincial election in Newfoundland and Labrador, where polls are closed now. The Liberals were hoping to win a 4th consecutive term, but there are tight races with the Conservatives in some ridings, and the Conservatives appear to be pulling ahead. Heidi Petrachuk is in St. John's. Heidi, how is it shaping up?
Well, Donna, it's been interesting to watch the numbers. The PCs and the Liberals have been trading places back and forth by a few seats all night. But now it appears the PC party is leading with 21 seats to the Liberals' 15, 21, that magic number for a majority. It's not something that pollsters anticipated prior to today's voting day, and it has supporters on edge.
You guys all want to see it go in?
Newfoundland and Labrador's Liberal leader cast his ballot and made his final pitch.
I really look forward to everybody getting out and voting today, and certainly hope that we're successful tonight.
Hogan only became premier in May, winning a leadership race triggered by the sudden resignation of his predecessor, Andrew Furey. The Liberals' decade-long reign is one Progressive Conservative leader Tony Wakeham wants to end, while the New Democrats, holding just one seat, hope to gain new ground under Jim Dinn. All three untested as leaders in an election campaign.
I don't think it's a time for big change. I think we have to kind of head down.
At stake, the future of a province struggling under staggering debt, grappling with cost of living concerns and healthcare hurdles.
Overcrowded emergency rooms, difficult to see a doctor.
You got to worry about how our money is being spent.
The solution, the Liberals say, a proposed deal to sell electricity to Hydro-Quebec, a renegotiation of the unpopular 1969 Churchill Falls deal meant to cut a better deal for the province.
There is a real urgency to making sure that the deal is done right, that Newfoundland and Labrador get as much out of it as they can.
It's not final yet, so it's very difficult to say yes or no.
Now, we know that PC leader Tony Wakeham, who's on the West Coast right now, has secured his seat, as has Liberal leader John Hogan. Here at Hogan's election night headquarters, he hasn't arrived yet. Neither have many of his supporters, likely all glued to the results with the rest of the province. Donna.
Interesting night in Newfoundland, Labrador. Heidi Petrachik in St. John's, thank you. Alberta teachers not backing down. Coming up, how students are feeling about the strike and where negotiations are at. "51,000 teachers are still off the job in Alberta. The province and the largest teachers' union have returned to bargaining, but public, Catholic and Francophone schools are going into their second week of no classes. And as Heather Yourex-West reports, the patience of parents is wearing thin.
And it said jelly beans, and this is what it looks.
After a week of the couch as her classroom, first grader Paisley Bucher is over it.
Do you know why you're not in school right now?
Yes, because they're on strike.
It's been hectic. My kids want to see people and want to have their friends back, and Paisley really misses her teacher as well.
After the Thanksgiving long weekend, more than 750,000 students across Alberta are beginning another week off school as teachers continue their strike. Though for the first time since the job action began, the union and province are back bargaining.
I think parents should be cautiously optimistic, having the parties back at the table, and I'm hearing that there is a substantive new proposal that's going to be on the table that they're going to talk about. That's a very hopeful sign.
It could take 1 day, it could take 2 days, it could take 3. We're coming with proposals about what we need to see, but we also have to see what government is willing to do.
Alberta teachers say they're looking for better wages, smaller class size, and more support for students with complex needs. The province says it wants a deal that's fair to teachers and taxpayers.
Both parties are definitely feeling like they're increasingly in a situation where they've got to come up with a resolution sooner rather than later. If we don't see a resolution by the end of the week, I think the government will start contemplating its options in terms of its legal options, which is not ideal.
The last time Alberta teachers went on strike in 2002, the province declared an emergency to order teachers back to work. That order was later overturned in court, leading Labour experts to doubt the province will try that again this time around. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Factory fire ahead, anguish after a deadly blaze at a garment factory in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, a fire tore through a garment factory in that country's capital, killing at least 16 people. There are fears the number of dead could rise. The blaze started on the 3rd floor of the 7-story building, and it spread to a warehouse storing hazardous chemicals. Bangladesh is the world's 2nd largest exporter of garments after China. The industry employs millions of workers, mostly women. The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected an appeal from conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, and he's been ordered to pay $1.4 billion in damages over false comments he made about the Sandy Hook school shooting. The founder of InfoWars argued a Connecticut judge was wrong to find him liable for defamation and inflicting emotional stress without holding a trial. The Supreme Court disagreed. 20 children in grade 1, plus 6 educators, were killed in that shooting in 2012. Jones repeatedly claimed it was a hoax staged by actors. Next, inside a unique new facility in BC supporting Indigenous offenders. For decades, Indigenous people have been overrepresented in Canada's prisons. Now in northern BC, a pilot project is taking an alternative approach, using culture and community instead of courtrooms. Neetu Garcha explains how the first-of-its-kind program in Canada is designed to work and the hope it is offering.
On Lheidli-T'enneh territory, a new kind of justice is taking root. This Indigenous diversion centre is celebrating the launch of a federally funded pilot project.
The first one in Canada.
The new pre-charge program gives RCMP officers discretion to refer Indigenous people accused of certain non-violent offences into cultural healing programs. It aims to reduce the over-incarceration of Indigenous people.
Enough is enough. No one can argue to me or tell me that it's acceptable that Indigenous people are so horrifically overrepresented. That is insane. Everybody wants fiscal responsibility and everybody wants safer communities. This is exactly that.
Rather than recommending charges to the Crown Council, they would again recommend them to the diversion program.
Until now, most diversion programs began after a charge was laid. This one, the first pre-charge model of its kind in Canada, stops the criminal process before it starts.
They would begin a 90-day diversion program, and again, working with the social worker and the clinical counselor, the elder. We've built the diversion center and the programming hand in hand with the RCMP, and I think that's why it's going to be successful.
Prince George RCMP believes the program will become a success and wants it rolled out nationwide.
This is different, and the focus is on the individual that's involved in a cycle of crime. Training starts this week, and upon training, that the members will be then allowed to start bringing individuals over here that meet the criteria.
The BC First Nations Justice Council plans to track outcomes and also push for similar programs across Canada.
This is a different way of doing justice. It's a different way of doing things. It's not something that's Indigenous specific.
In this part of northern BC, where Indigenous people make up nearly 2/3 of those in custody, the centre hopes to change the statistics one person and one healing path at a time. Neetu Garcha, Global News, Prince George, BC.
And that is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada showcases freshwater Newfoundland and Labrador, Hague, Saskatchewan, and Moose Lake, Alberta. Please keep them coming. Send your pictures of Canadian pride to Global National at globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.